Welcome back, everyone, to Aaron's Opinion. And definitely welcome back or welcome to Mina Maleki, our first ever guest from Iran. Thank you so much for basically reaching out to me over Facebook and over the show. So, my first question that I will ask any guest, and you can take the conversation in any direction that you want to tell the world. Who is Mina Maleki?
First, let me say hi to people who hear me. And as you told, I'm from Iran. I'm 26. I born in September 7th, 1995. And I'm completely blind. I just can't see the light. Um, I don't know. You can ask me everything.
Okay, sure. So, you come from basically the first country, one of the oldest and most historic countries on the planet. First of all, though, what can you tell us about, growing up in Iran as a blind child, going through schooling, childhood memories, going through the things that all of us go through around the world. What can you tell us? What can you tell me about growing up as a blind child in Iran?
Unfortunately, here in Iran, most of the people are not that familiar with blind people. And when I was a child, it was even, uh, more unfamiliar, more strange. And actually, when I was 6, uh, we thought that there's no blind school, uh, but just in Tehran. So we moved to Tehran. And of course, there were some other blind school in other cities, but um, as the same as most countries, the capital usually has the best possibilities for people.
Sure, 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 sure. Now, of course, you do not need to tell me. You do not need to answer this if you do not want to. Would you like to share with me what city you're from in Iran and what it's like there, as far as nowadays, as far as getting around the city and what the city is like? Do you live in Tehran now?
Now, yes, now I live in Tehran, but I've lived in Tehran since I was 6, and before that, I lived in another city named Hamadan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hamadan. Yes, another famous city. Yes. Of course, of course. So growing up, your English is good, by the way. Um,
Thank you.
growing up, did you take a lot of English courses in school? What is the approach to teaching English in your country?
Actually, they teach us English in elementary school and also in high school, but it's not really working.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's not usable. You can't really use that in real life.
Right.
So, personally, I started my English by speaking to native people. And at first, my English was even terrible than it's now.
Right. Okay.
Uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
After I talked to many British people, and American people, uh, I really understood that yeah, I can improve. I can improve that, and I can go into that subject.
It's really good. This might seem, my next question may come across to you as ignorant, and please forgive me if it's an ignorant question. What did you do after high school? In other words, were you able to attend the matriculation and go to university?
Actually, when I was 16, my parents divorced each other, and when I finished my high school, uh, I accepted in a great university. But the problem was my mother wanted to marry again, so I went to my dad's place again in Hamadan, and I asked him to uh, let me come back to Tehran and live in a dorm because I escaped from uh, my mom's husband because he wanted to rape me. So I asked my father to let me go to Tehran. At first, he was not, I mean, he didn't agree uh, because there's a terrible culture here that women are not allowed to live by themselves. But at least I talked to my stepmother, and she talked to him, and I went back to Tehran
Well,
and I started my university.
I'm sorry. For one thing, I definitely need to say I'm sorry that you needed to flee your home. I'm very sorry that you were treated that way. That's crazy, and I'm glad you avoided that person. I'm glad you fled that. That's good. That's good that you fled. Yes. That's yeah. That's crazy. Anyway, yeah. I mean, we in the states have the idea that people in Iran are, quite frankly, not as connected with the rest of the world. We have this idea that people in Iran
Exactly.
are not, completely connected with what's going on. I don't think that's true at all. I confess to you that I was a little surprised when you reached out to me because usually the people that reach out to me are tend to be tend to be men, obviously, and tend to be not from Iran. So I was actually very impressed that you reached out to me. It really shows that you're a strong person and have a very brilliant and interesting story to share. So
Thank
I
you.
have to
But
I have to ask. Go ahead.
the reason that you guys say that we are not connected to world is because there are many websites and applications that are blocked in Iran, like Facebook, YouTube, Telegram, uh, Signal, many programs and websites.
Hmm. That I did not know. I'm not terribly surprised, but I didn't necessarily know that. Yeah. So then in Iran, how do you communicate with people? Let's say you have some blind friends, some sighted friends. How would you navigate communicating in Iran?
We do that by WhatsApp because WhatsApp is not blocked, but
Oh, good. In fact,
yeah.
I have just the thing because you know that I have a private WhatsApp group for the guests of Aaron's Opinion, and soon later today I'll send you the link for that, and you will find that there are some very very supportive, strong and kind people from all over the world, all over Africa, Middle East, all over the world that will love to hear your story and will just be utterly fascinated that Aaron's Opinion is finally connected with Iran. I mean, it's not cooler that nothing's cooler than this for me. Nothing is a greater honor for me. I mean, yeah, I mean, I didn't specifically know that information, but I'm a little bit surprised, and I'm a little bit not surprised. Because we oftentimes think here in different countries, oh, that country doesn't have access to that. They don't have access to that, and then it turns out they do. Through Do you have access to like VPNs though? Are you allowed to get
Yeah.
onto stuff with a VPN?
Yes. Actually, I use VPN most of the times because I use Facebook a lot because um, it's really my dream to be in United States, and I tried my best to get familiar with your culture and know more about your culture.
Right.
So
By the way, when you said that, I'm not going to say it on the air, but when you said that you wanted to get familiar with my culture, that made me think of that kind of got my attention a little bit, and it kind of made me more curious about you. So I guess what can you tell me about, let's start from your culture. What can you tell me about the current modern day culture in Iran? And then what have you learned about American culture? And then what do you want to know about American culture? Hello. Mina. Oh my.
um, actually, in Iran, um, I think the biggest problem is men and women are not equal as many Middle Eastern countries. And most of the rules here are religious, and the religion that uh, already exists in Iran, I mean Islam, uh, see men greater than women, and it makes a lot of problem for women. And when you're a woman in Iran, you face a lot of um, issues because you're not equal with men, and when you're blind, it's even worse. And I like to know everything about American cultures because there are a lot of things that they're much more uh, different from Iranian culture, and it's really interesting to me.
I'm pleased to tell you. I think that in America, one of the biggest problems, to answer the question in a similar fashion to the way you answered, I think one of the biggest problems in America right now is that we still have a lot of discrimination towards people who are blind and have disabilities. So in America, men and women might have, women are treated equally with more equality, perhaps. Um, but nothing is perfect, by the way. But
Of
certainly in
course.
America, we have a tremendous difficulty, even in America, with blind people trying to work and get educated. And that has been a consistent issue in my own life and in the lives of many, many people, many of our listeners to Aaron's Opinion, and certainly it's been an issue in the Aaron's Opinion community of guests itself. So I think that's something that really, stands out about American culture. The other thing, mostly because we're talking about our experience as successful blind people, I can tell you that many American people live alone. So we don't live in big cities nearly as often. In other words, when you watch an American film, you see people, in taxis and living in apartment buildings and drivers everywhere, and that does happen, but that is only how, less than really 1% of our country lives like that, you see. So what it really, comes down to is America is a great nation. Um, and Iran is a great nation as well. But also in America, we have, I just want to be overly clear that in America we have our own problems. We have our own situation in America. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course. But if you compare your problems with
Right.
our problems,
Sure.
for sure. I mean,
Well, I do see what you're saying. I mean, you would certainly agree that you would say that the problems in your country outweigh the problems in America, right?
yes, of course.
Well, okay. Well, of course. Well, fair. That's fair. Although I would prefer to live in a country without any problems. Without any problems at all would be even better. That would be really good to have a society without problems. I think that most of the problems we have are problems, in some cases, are problems that we as people have caused ourselves. In other times, it's about the history of a certain country, right? The governance of a certain country, the politics, the religion, the culture over thousands of years, right? There are many factors, but one factor that keeps popping up is that people are a problem in every country. There's always the crazy neighbor or the guy next door that does something weird. There's always that in any country.
Exactly.
That's a people thing. The biggest problem are people is what it truly comes down to. Yeah. Yeah. So Mina, after high school, it sounds like you went to the university. What courses did you take in the university?
My course was educational technology.
Good. So Mina, what is educational technology? Tell us about that.
Educational technology is a course which you learn how to make new technologies to teach people, to educate people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So how does the Irani community, just in general, having nothing to do with blind people for a moment, how does the Irani community approach technology? What is the public opinion of technology in Iran?
Uh, Actually, people in these days, people try to uh, be westernized. People try to uh, get the American factors like you can't imagine. But in Iran, we have many people, for sure, more than you, that use iPhone.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And using iPhone in Iran is a idiot thing because we are under your bycode. I mean, your country's bycode, so I mean, we can't do much with iPhones. But just because it's a kind of a symptom of United States, people use that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So uh, this is right about many things, about many technologies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. I see. So then, do most Iranis prefer like Samsung, or what is the preferred mobile? The preferred mobile in Iran.
Most of the people prefer to have an iPhone, but the problem is each US dollar in Iran is 30,000 months. It's a lot. And our government somehow doesn't let people use iPhones. I mean, they let people use iPhones, but it's much more expensive. So imagine if, for example, iPhone 13 Pro Max is 1,000 something dollars. In Iran, it's two times more expensive.
Right, right. So it would be at least 2,500 of the Irani currency, at least. Right, right. Mm-hmm.
So it's about 60 million to months.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. That's So basically, it would be very difficult for most Iranis to have an iPhone.
Exactly.
So what do they do? So I'm trying to paint a picture on
Some
how they
people,
overcome the technology. So what happens? Yeah.
I heard that some people are ready to sell their kidneys. Some people
Oh
really
my.
do that just to show off and just to say
Well,
that, yeah, we are
I've
rich,
heard.
we
You know
can
what
do
though?
that.
I've heard of this being done in China. Um, and there was a story where a boy in China wanted an iPhone so badly that he couldn't afford it, so he sold his kidney, and there were complications after the operation, and he got very sick. So I don't. I mean, he has an iPhone, but then he got sick. So I don't know. What whatever became of him. Um, I don't know if he still has the iPhone, but that's. I mean, this is a serious problem, a serious matter, because a lot of people will sell an organ just to get an iPhone. I mean, that's really. I mean, Mina. I mean, that's a problem in Iran. If you have to sell an organ to get an iPhone, that's a problem. That. I mean, it's a social problem, health problem. You know,
Of course.
I mean, that's I mean, philosophically, you shouldn't have to open your own body to get a piece of technology. That's ridiculous. That's
Yeah,
craziness.
but the situation is really worse than that. Many people
Okay.
are having problem even for a simple life to, for
Right.
example, to prepare food, to buy their first needs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I think, if you're idiot enough to sell your kidney for an iPhone, it's on you. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It. Yeah. Yeah. So in English we would say you don't really you cannot sympathize with them. You don't have a lot of sympathy. If they're but In
Yeah,
other words, you can't feel sorry for a person who's willing to sell a kidney just to get an iPhone. In other words. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Um, yeah, I mean, that's serious stuff. I mean, I would never. I mean, I had to have. I mean, I had to have a small surgery on one of my eyes, Mina, because my story, it's very interesting. I have glaucoma and a congenital heart defect, and I have had to have many surgeries. About a year ago, I had to have a surgery on my right eye, an extremely routine surgery, just to scrape off some calcium from my cornea, the outermost layer of my eye. And I will tell you the truth, it was absolutely the right choice to make in my health. But I was so stressed out, and it was also the first surgery that I needed to do when I was an adult. So it was the first time that I was aware of what was going on. I was so nervous, and it was so stressful. I mean, I didn't even want an iPhone when I, came to and woke up from anesthesia in the recovery room. I didn't even want an iPhone. I mean, I was, too sick, too feeling too,
Yeah, I
too nauseous
completely
from the
understand.
medicine, But that's really, I mean, that's really scary. I mean, I'm going to give out my opinion. This is only my opinion. I do not believe in doing medical procedures that we don't need. I think that surgery needs to be the last resort for anything, and that we need to use surgery as little as possible. That we need to do other things before we get to that point. In my own estimation. But that's really serious. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So It's extremely fascinating. And what are some specific things that you learned about, education and technology while you were taking these courses in the university?
To be honest, I really don't like teaching because I'm not patient enough. You know, when I teach somebody to someone,
Hmm.
I expect them to learn the first time that I teach something.
Ah, okay.
So I'm not a good teacher.
Well, that's something that you would need to work on for yourself. I don't know. Everybody has their, we all have our Achilles heel. We all have our little thing that holds us back sometimes. I
Yeah,
find that I
exactly.
find actually that for me, my teaching has helped me in my life to be an effective communicator and an active listener. But I can understand that it's extremely frustrating to teach people who already kind of have some challenges, and then you try to teach them, and then it just makes it harder and harder. So who in what capacity do you teach when you teach, and are you teaching only blind people? To talk about it in more detail if you want.
In the past years, I taught technology to blind people. Uh, Personally, when someone teaches me something, I learn the first time.
Hmm.
So it was really frustrating for me to repeat something times and times.
Right, over and over again. Right, over and over
Yeah,
again. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
exactly. And when I wanted to choose my course, I wanted to study psychology. But in Iran, when you finish high school, you take an exam, a really, really hard exam.
And this is called, and for the
And
listener and for you at home, this is called this is a concept called matriculation, and this is a concept not that Americans are not familiar with. It's basically a really hard test, and then the score that you get on the exam determines what subjects you can study and what universities you can apply for. And it really holds people back. Even sighted people are held back by matriculation. It's a big problem. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
exactly. And I accepted in psychology and in educational science, but because the university that I was accepted in educational science was a better university. My mom told me to study educational technology, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, I never liked that course.
Right. Right. Is it possible, and I'm just throwing this out there, is it possible that maybe your mother felt that educational technology was really the only course where the professors would be, willing to help you and willing to teach you? Is that kind of maybe what it
No,
is?
no,
No?
no, because
Good. No.
now many blind people studied in psychology, and it's fine.
Yeah, which is why I'm surprised that you didn't study psychology. It's very common for blind people to study psychology. Um, Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. I see. I see. Okay. Okay. And what can you tell me like about the university, and were there any international people at the university? What can you tell me?
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the thing that it's really bold in Iran is um, all of the universities are not the same,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't have any college. We just have universities. I mean, we just call them universities.
Sure, sure, sure. Right, right.
Yeah, and in many universities, the professors and the managers don't uh, pay attention to blind people. just in
Well,
some top
just to keep
universities they do
just
that.
for the record, do you think the universities pay attention to anyone, or are they all kind of are they all kind of in their own little world? What do you what do you think?
For example, in Tehran University,
Mm-hmm.
there is a possibility that blind people can uh, have single rooms. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
every blind people can have a room, but in
Mm-hmm.
other universities, this possibility
Mm-hmm.
doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like my own university.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right, right. I see. I see. So did you and that was really shocking to me. So you're saying that your university had like a dormitory where the people lived like on the campus?
Our rooms was were like, for example, we were 8 people,
Oh my.
and you know that most of our lessons are in audiobooks, so it was
Mhm.
really hard for me to study, and because everyone, one of them, for example, is talking to her boyfriend, one of them, I don't know, watch video with her cell phone, and it was really hard for me to
Mhm.
study my lesson.
Right. Right. Mhm. Mhm. Sure. Sure, sure, sure. Yes. I see. I see. Okay, interesting. It's very
Yes,
interesting that you go ahead.
and when I was at dormitory, my roommates didn't let me cook at the first. They were really scared that I burned myself or I don't know, something like that.
Mhm.
Um, Actually, a culture that exists in Iran, and I really don't like that, is they feel pity for blind people
Right.
or people with disabilities, and they like to um, do everything for them, and it's not help really. It's bothering.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, indeed. And this is not I just want to be clear that this is not only a problem in Iran, in your country. This is a problem in a lot of countries. Many, many, many countries. Blind people are
Yeah,
felt
but in
sorry for.
Iran, for example, it's
I under,
completely usual in Iran that
right. You're saying it's
people
especially bad.
come to
It's
you.
especially bad. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for example, people come to you and they say, "Oh, you're religious. Please pray for me." And I don't know why blind people are religious. I really, I can't understand why. They just want you to pray for them.
So, in other words, now this is really fascinating, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. So, you're saying that in Iran, people would come up to you and assume that you're religious because you're blind?
Yeah, they say, for example, you are very, uh, you're a great person. You don't do any wrong thing. God loves you.
Well,
So please pray for us.
that's very risky because in other countries, blind people have actually blind people have committed crimes before and have done horrible things to other blind people. So that's you being blind doesn't you being blind, Mina. Let me clarify. You being blind doesn't make me think any more or less of you, and it certainly doesn't let you off the hook for anything, and it certainly will never prevent you from being successful. So that's a very silly thing. That's kind of a form of that's a form of discrimination, and it's called in the States, we have a similar problem that happens in offices a lot of times, and it's called disability porn. And what it means, it's kind of a weird thing to say, but what it means is that you feel sorry for the person who's disabled, so then you pretend that they've accomplished something just because they're blind. Well, Mina, I don't feel sorry for me. And to be frank, I don't feel sorry for you. You're a successful blind person, and that's what you should tell them. So you can be religious if you want. I could really care less one way or the other. You can be religious if you want, but don't pray for me because because I'm so crazy and successful. A prayer's not going to help me. Trust me. You would need a lot of people to pray for me. You would need all the cities in Iran to pray for me. You'd need to get all of the blind people. Okay, get them all together. Okay, get all the blind people in your country. Get them on a Zoom. Get them on a Facebook Live. Okay, and then you can say, okay, Aaron, can we pray for you? But then I would still say no because I'm successful, and that's what you should say. Okay, but if you are, but for the record, if you're a spiritual person who loves God, who loves Allah, who loves Islam, that's good. But you being
Yeah, but
blind,
it
yeah,
doesn't relate to,
no,
you know,
no. Sometimes I have found, to be honest, I have found that sometimes blind people in America are more likely to actually participate in church groups and different, organized religious events, mainly so that they can meet other people and network with people. But that really has nothing to do with their interest in religion. Actually, most people in America have no interest in religion. Very, very, very few of them are interested in religion. And very few people in America would care or have any interest that you're Muslim. Let me just put that out there. Nobody would care one way or the other.
yeah, but
Yeah,
they don't like that too much.
that's not true. In my
I
opinion,
I
that's not true. We have to. I just
that
want you
I
to know. I
met
really don't think
American.
that's true. I think that in America, you can be whatever religion you want. You can go to a mosque or not go to a mosque. You can pray or not pray.
Yeah,
Nobody
but
cares.
as I learned, it's better not to say that you're Muslim because
It's not true. Actually, in America, it's good to say you're Muslim because in America, if someone asks me, I'm going to say I'm Jewish. I happen to be a Jewish guy. So in America, we don't care about what religion you are. You know, we're
yeah,
made.
but
Yeah.
there are two things. One
Hmm.
is phrase, I really wish I could uh, find a way to change my accent to hide my
Why?
nationality
Why
because
should you? You should
uh,
be. You
because
should be. First of all, your English is great. Everybody has an accent. You should be pleased to be. You should be proud to be from Persia, from Iran, from one of the
to be
oldest nations.
honest, it's
Okay.
my belief. Yeah, we had a great past, but we should judge countries by their present, what we have now. And to be honest, Iran has nothing
Hmm.
impressing,
Right.
nothing
Right.
attractive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Well, I think that, yeah, I think you're right in a greater sense of the imagination. You're correct about that. I also think that, I mean, I know, I mean, it's not, look, it's not fair to make a comparison. I'm not making a comparison, and I can't, we can't really compare because I'm American and you're Irani. You can't compare the two. There's too many things that are different, but one thing that's similar all over the world is that everybody thinks their country has the most problems. We all have our problems in our countries. There's really no good. There's no country that's good, really. They're all just worse or even worse. I mean, some are a lot
Of
worse
course.
and some are worse, but they're all worse. But that's only my pessimistic view. Yeah.
I remember that last year I was in Clubhouse and I was talking to some
Good for
of
you.
my American friends, and there was a person from South Africa,
Uh-huh.
and I was complaining about my country, and I was like, yeah, Iranian government just pays $12 to people who don't have any job. And he told me, good for you. My government doesn't pay anything. So
Yeah.
$12 is.
Yeah,
Something.
and South Africa, by the way, is also an incredibly unequal society. Too, you were mentioning equality. South Africa is also highly unequal, and has a lot of problems. That South Africa country, you'll see in a few minutes later today. You'll see on in the group for Aaron's opinion. We have a lot of great friends from South Africa, and they will tell you that South Africa has plenty of problems. Um, yeah, most people are not working in South Africa. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, no, that's really good that you were on Clubhouse. How did you and how did you get connected with these American people on Clubhouse?
Uh, I searched for some clubs that are made for blind people, and I
Do you
found
mind if I
some.
because I'm well connected. I'm suspicious about. I think I might know what the club was. What club did you find on Clubhouse?
It's a long time that I haven't gone to Clubhouse, but uh, what was the name of that club? I don't remember.
Was
Blind
it run?
something. Blind community?
What
Blind?
is it?
I don't know.
What?
Blind community? Or I don't know. Something like that.
Huh. Huh. Interesting. No, I'm on. I have Clubhouse. I'm on it. I haven't done it in a very long time. I haven't been over there in a long time. But that's very, very, very interesting. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, and were there people from all over the world on that club, or just Americans, or or what can you tell me?
Most of them were Americans or British.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
personally, I told you, because I really love American culture,
Good. Good. Good.
I tried to communicate more with people from United States.
That's really excellent. That's really, really excellent. Um, and so how do you how do you spend your time now now today? What types of activities do you do?
Uh, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
in these days, my uh, situation in my life is really terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Because after that marriage, my mom married two other times, and in every marriage, uh, mm, they tried to. I mean, my stepfathers tried to bother me, and the last one beated me. So again, I escaped,
Oh my.
and I went to my grandparents' place,
Mm-hmm.
and now I put all of my energy to um, leave my country.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. I see. I see. So where would you like to go, and what would you like to do?
Uh, for sure, I like to go to some English-speaking countries, and of
Mm-hmm.
course, the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to study. I like to really live my life, and I like to feel safety.
Good. Good.
And
Well, I can assure
because
you that you will feel very safe on Aaron's opinion and in my community. That's definitely a promise I can keep. So yeah, really, really, really fascinating. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Um, Mina, I'm starting to run out of time today. I realize we had some minor. We got a little disconnected. I'm starting to run out of time a little bit though, so I want to wrap this up today by really thanking you from the bottom of my heart for having the courage to contact me and then the courage to come to Zoom today and then just being really patient and just doing a really beautiful job answering my questions. So, before we go, I always like to end an episode of Aaron's Opinion by saying thank you. And if you can ask me only one question, you can ask me only one question at all to really make me sweat to see if I'm worth my salt as a podcaster. What do you want
Mhm.
to know about me?
Who do you enjoy the most to have interview with? I mean, uh, which one of your interviews do you like the most?
I mean, are you asking who was my favorite guest in all the years that I've done the
Exactly,
pod?
exactly.
All of them, you included, of course. All of them are my favorite because every guest on Aaron's Opinion gets better and better, and every guest has something new to offer. And every time I do an interview with someone, I continuously learn new information. So every guest is is great.
Thank you for your answer. And really, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Um, yeah, thank you for everything.
Always welcome here. If someone wants to get in touch with you, Mina, how would they do that?
They can get in touch with me with my Facebook. It's I think
We'll put the link
minamalei74. Yeah.
in the description for them. Okay.
Okay. Um, with my Facebook and my Telegram.
Well, okay. Anyway, guys, click the link in the description, whatever it is, for more information. But probably Facebook would be the easiest way for most of the world to communicate. Yeah, because not everyone uses Telegram, but all the world uses Facebook for the most part. So, all right then. Well, Mina, thank you so much. You are forever welcome here. Stay safe out there, everyone, and we'll see you same place, same time. See you same place, same time next week. As I like to say, thank you to everyone who listens. Thank you, Mina. Great interview, great episode. We'll see you next time. Help one person today, help 1 million people tomorrow.